Trump still has 12 days left in the White House before the president-elect Joe Biden is inaugurated, but there are growing calls to remove him. For more on that, I'm joined by France 24's International Affairs editor, Philip Tell. And Philip, tell us then, what are the options when it comes to removing Trump less than 2 weeks before he's due to leave office?
Well, there are two options that are being put forward. The first one is impeachment. We've already been down that road once during Donald Trump's presidency. The impeachment rule is Rule Section 4, which says the president under the Constitution can be removed from office for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. The problem here is that it's going to take a long time. Remember how long the last impeachment proceedings took. And as you said, there are only 12 days left to go as far as Donald Trump's presidency is concerned. There are moves amongst the Democrats to try to start the impeachment proceedings, but I think it's a much more symbolic move than it will be an effective move in getting the president kicked out of office. Now, the second one is also being talked about, and that's the 25th Amendment. What is that? That says the vice president, together with a majority of either the principal officers of the executive or of Congress, may by law in a written declaration declare the president unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. That is possible, but there again, we're up against the wall of the time aspect in only 12 days. And for this to go ahead, the vice president has to write a letter saying why the president should not be in office. The president then has the right of reply. Then another letter has to be written which lays out the claims again, and then it has to be voted on in Congress and accepted by a 2/3 majority. That is not going to happen in the next 2 weeks. But Nancy Pelosi has called for this to happen. Chuck Schumer, who is the minority leader of the House, has also asked for that to happen. And I think, once again, this is also something that's symbolic. So there is definitely a move within Congress in the United States, certainly amongst the Democrat side and by some Republicans, to make it clear to Donald Trump that he has overstepped the mark and it is time for him to go. And he should go even before the 20th of January.
Right, and we can see some images behind you of the damage that was left in the US Congress after those rioters got in, and the world was really shocked by what happened, and many are asking why, the very seat of US democracy was so poorly defended.
Yeah, this is causing a huge row in the United States. Now, of course, there was a catastrophic security failure that day. I think everybody can agree on that. The question is, who was responsible? Was it the police in the Capitol building? The head of that police department has already resigned. Was it the Washington, D.C. police force, who should have been more mobilized? Or was it a problem of a federal government failure? All of that is being discussed at the moment. But it is true that if you compare the police and who was out on the streets during the Black Lives Matter protests, that there was absolutely no comparison to the police presence 2 days ago in the Capitol building when these appalling images were filmed. And I think certainly heads are going to roll. And this is already coming from really the very top. You hear Joe Biden yesterday saying that this was totally out of order and outrageous, and complaining that it's two separate measures for these kind of protesters and for black protesters. And this is something that has definitely got to stop. So I think, yes, there is definitely going to be an inquiry. Yes, these images have shocked the world. Yes, these images have done nothing to help the democratic process in the United States, and also, I think, are worrying international governments who say, well, we're depending on an image of solid government and democracy in the United States. And when we have these kind of pictures of mobs rioting inside the Capitol building, this could have a ricochet effect on other democracies in the world, where people say, well, if you can go into the Capitol building and cause trouble, then we can do that in our countries. And that's why you've seen from democratic governments this criticism of the events there, because I think that they're not only angry about what happened in the US, they're also a little bit scared about what could happen one day in their own countries.
Philip, thanks very much indeed. Philip Tell there.